have a attractive price for the certified impacts for sustainable development. So I think that there are possible new business models with the more sophisticated SDG tools that are coming on the market. But as you see, it's quite new still, but an area where I expect a lot of development also on pricing. I see that you are back, VK.
Yes.
So before we get into the discussion, over to you for the presentation.
Thank you. And let me pick up from the last point that you were making in terms of, pricing based on the co-benefits. And this is precisely that we did for the Future Carbon Fund, the study that we published in 2017, as you can see on slide number 2. So it was quite an interesting experience for us because we had built a good portfolio on the strengths of co-benefits and as the impacts of individual CDM projects, and we were giving prices based on the relative benefits for the communities. So we published this report, we presented it at COP17, we made and in Bonn, and we made together with you, Karen, you were there, and we made a very a strong pitch to the negotiators to include this in the Article 6 rules to make it mandatory because it will be quite useful. So this report was done in 17, and one of the good things that we did was that we were able to link the co-benefit or SD impacts of individual projects to the SDGs. So this was reflected through this web diagram. So we came up with an assessment that the mitigation projects or the climate actions not only reduce tons of CO2, meaning getting the mitigation benefits, but also bring a lot of co-benefits for the local communities and beyond. And that is very important. And that should be actually built in as a criteria for the carbon asset buyers. So now, we are in 2022. For the last 1.5 years, our team has been working to build on the successful experience and come up with a new methodology. So as you can see, a rational, Karen, we've been working together, and then we're very happy that there is a very robust text within Article 6 rules. So countries and the policymakers have a dual responsibility to implement not only Paris Agreement, but also Agenda 2030. So keeping the larger interest in mind, so we have been looking at what ADB as an institution would like to achieve through its strategy 2030, for which the tackling climate change, disaster resilience, and enhance the environmental sustainability is one of the pillars. We call it operational priority. But so we have been working on this methodology, which would help the broader fraternity to measure and monitor the SD impacts of climate actions. So be it mitigation or the adaptation. And we intend that this methodology should be useful for a wide section of stakeholders for different purposes, and to check what are the different impacts of their different climate actions and map those to the SDGs as we did previous times. This time around, our ambition is also to not only to build a robust methodology, but also create a user-friendly tool that will help people to assess and unlock the hidden values of carbon for various climate mitigation actions. So I think the ambition is higher. We would like to build on the successful experience, but we would also like to build on the general greater awareness and also the new tools that are available. So as you can see on the current slide, we have kind of progressed on the type of projects. We were previously looking only CDM. Now we are looking at all types of mitigation actions, with whether those are projects, policy interventions, or programs. We are looking at all 6 sectors that are identified UNFCCC. The target users, previously we were just looking at the project implementers. Now we would like to go to a wide section, as I said, not with the financier, the investors, the host countries, the government, the policymakers, and all, including the financial institutions. So we would like to present as a public good that can be used by a cross-section of the society to assess the co-benefits of their different types of climate action. So Previously, we were looking at just ex post because that's the time we started the exercise. So this methodology is focused on ex ante, ex post, and also during the implementation. We would like to, as I said, public good, which should have a global attraction. The approach that we are taking is we are identified 21 impact areas, which can be added, enhanced by 9 more, which are project specific or sector specific. And it will have 630 indicators, quite an ambition, 630 indicators. And then all these impact areas, whether those are 21 going up to a max of 30, will be mapped to the SDGs. And as I said earlier, we are developing an Excel-based tool, which will be, which should facilitate the actual implementation of this methodology. Like last time, we would not only focus on the project level assessment, but also help the users to do a portfolio level assessment, like, for example, carbon funds. On the next slide, which is number 6, as you can see, the objectives are to come up with a very concise methodology translated into a tool, as I said, so that it can benefit the users to provide an integrated approach to assess the overall co-benefits or SD impacts of their actions. It should cover a comprehensive list of quantitative indicators. So one of the important things of our work has been, we have been focusing on the quantification of the co-benefits. Previous time we worked on the quantification of the co-benefits, and that was a good experience that we had, that was quite appreciated by the users, and this is what we would like to build on. And the idea is to support host countries in defining the guidelines which are more aligned with the national SD priorities. We know this is a bit of a sensitive subject, and also considering the fact that the national priorities actually vary from country to country. So therefore, we would like it to be kind of have a host country touch in this one. And we think that by a good assessment right up front or during the project implementation should help countries and also the project implementers and policymakers to enhance the impacts. On to the next slide very briefly. So this methodology should help the users to prioritize on the funding options. It should help them to kind of prioritize and assess different opportunities for them. It should help them to communicate the value and the impact of their assessments as they go forward, and also to communicate the success stories so that those become inspirational stories for other investors or policymakers to kind of replicate or even scale up. It should also help the local communities to communicate the benefits so that the local support can be enhanced, and also the local buy-in or ownership of the climate actions are kind of supported much more than they would have done otherwise. We would like that this methodology should also help the projects to maximize the co-benefit by assessing and also monitoring and reporting. Article 6, Karen, is a very important thing, and we are all very glad that this has been built in the text. But the real challenge would come how to operationalize it. So therefore, we would like to come up with a feature that this methodology is actually helps countries to operationalize the SD part of Article 6. And once this is done effectively, it should also help countries to report progress toward their SDGs. As I mentioned earlier, that countries do now have a dual responsibility moving forward. On to the next slide now, which is slide number 8. What we have done, as I said earlier, we have identified 6 sectors as identify UNFCCC, energy, transport, industry, waste, agriculture, and LULUCF. And then what we are trying to do is to assess co-benefits in 3 dimensions: the environment, social, and economic. And under each of these dimensions, we will have impact areas, 7 impact areas, as you can see on the slide. And then each of these dimensions will have a possibility to add 3 usually defined impact areas. So in all, you would have 21 going up to 30 impact areas. And for each of the impact areas, there would be 5 indicators. So here what we are talking of 30 going into 5. And this is what is going to be assessed for individual interventions, and then each impact area will be mapped against SDGs. This is the broader ambition. This is very similar to what we did earlier, but as I said, it is much expanded, much more sophisticated in terms of the design of the method itself, and then we will take it forward to the tool. Let me take you to slide number 9. Which is quite interesting in terms of what we are trying to do here. 21 impact areas, 7 under each co-benefit, and how then these will be mapped to SDGs. As I said earlier, for developing this, we have referred to the best practice methodologies in selecting impact areas, such as the ICAT suite of tools, the GS Foundations tool, UNFCCC CDM Sustainable Benefit Description, and also building on the experience FCF had. And I'll quickly come to slide number 10. So just giving that little bit of insight how we are going about developing this method. We have carefully reviewed all 169 targets under the 17 SDGs and then determined which SDGs have direct linkages to each of the impact areas. So many impact areas contribute to several SDGs, and that has been the real challenge. On the slide, you can see we have presented two examples, how impact areas are mapped to individual SDGs. You will see one, for example, one impact area is improved air quality, which is directly linked to SDG 3, good health and well-being. And target is 3.9, which aims to substantially reduce the number of deaths and illness from the hazardous chemicals and air, water, soil pollution, and contamination. And then it also linked to SDG 11 on sustainable cities and communities. So this is the kind of work that we are thinking we should be able to help the users to delve into these intricacies of mapping co-benefits toward SDGs. So slide number 11, very quickly. So for each impact areas, 5 tangible and measurable indicators, as I mentioned earlier, have been identified. So while choosing these indicators, so we have used this criteria, as you can see on the left panel. Those have to be identifiable, meaning the tangible benefit in the sphere of influence of the project or the policy where it is getting implemented. So identifiable, attributable directly to the co-benefits of the project or the policy interventions. Third, it should be universal. It should be applicable across different sectors, combination of technical and simple indicators, which can enhance the universal applicability of the method, and therefore its tool. Fourth, it should be quantifiable. So there should be methods that should be available to quantify the co-benefits. And finally, there should be data availability. So the choice of 5 indicators should ensure that data is readily available. So these are the things that we have considered while selecting these areas. I'll quickly come back to the next slide, which is slide number 12. Now the next challenge is to convert this methodology into a user-friendly tool. So these are the 7 features of the tool. Number 1, it has to be simple and easy to use, so that it can help the users to bring about the tangible and measurable impacts and can see the practical application. Number 2, it will be digital and automated. It will be Excel based. It should be free to download application. We want to create a public good, and it should be able to calculate outputs and should be able to generate summary. So summary, it should be at the project level, could be at the portfolio level also. The third feature is to provide a visual summary. So the summary of the quantitative co-benefits and their linkages to SDGs should be able to be presented by a visual diagram, as I showed earlier, we did last time. And these should the SDG benefits should be able to be reflected with figures and charts, so the policymakers can have a quick look, or say, for example, carbon asset buyers can quickly compare different interventions and decide the price as applicable. It will have, number 4, multi-component assessment. It should be able to analyze sub-activities within the multi-component. Say, for example, there are programs which have different types of climate actions. So this tool should be able to assess the co-benefit or SD impacts of individual interventions. Number 5, aggregated assessments. So as I said earlier, it should be able to generate the portfolio level reports, and not only portfolio level reports, but also at the underlying level, it should be able to help capture the benefits of projects, policy interventions, and programs. It would be dynamic, as I see in number 6. It would be dynamic and comprehensive. As I said, we are looking at 630 predefined indicators across 6 sectors, but we would like this tool and the Meth to be quite dynamic as we move forward. I know this area is picking up, and there's a more intellectual wealth is likely to be added as we go forward from here. And finally, as I said earlier, this tool should help different stakeholders to do ex-ante estimation during the process, interim, and ex-post assessment as well. So in the next few slides, there are different snapshots of the tool. I would not like to spend too much of time on this one, but what I want to communicate here through slide 13 and 14, there will be different features where there will be certain elements of the tool where you would have to input the data, and there would be certain primary data requirements, and there could be certain secondary data requirements, as you can see on the screen, and then you would be able to get reports for the project level. Everything is going to be automated. So for any user, any policymaker, or anyone interested in assessing a project should be able to generate a report which provides the numeric value of the co-benefits or all the impact areas, their linkages to SDGs, and also provide a pictorial depiction or graphic representation of the different co-benefits. So this is the ambition. This work on the next slide, if you look at slide number 20, this is very much work in progress. I would like this opportunity today to solicit your interest and your support in providing high-level comments so that we can do further development of this methodology and eventually convert or come up with a very effective tool to utilize this. As you will see this, today we are seeking feedback on the Meth approach and the framework. Immediately after this webinar, our intent is to send you slides and a brief note. Those who are keen to look at this and provide some comments may please send us their interest either to the chat or through email to me and my colleagues, and we'll be very happy to send you slides and that note. So we would very much appreciate your comments by 14th of February. Then during the month of February, we'll be pilot testing what we have developed. And then our intent is in the second half of March, we would come back to the wider, we will take it to the peers for peer review of the wider methodology and the tool that we would have developed. And finally, our intent is to conduct public consultation on the methodology and the tool, and that is likely to be done in the second half of April. So very much appreciate your interest and very much appreciate your support in contributing to the development of this Meth. And the next step is going to be that we convert your comments and the Meth that we would have finalized into a tool. We have put together a few questions here on the last slide, which is slide number 21. What are the improvements you would like to suggest on the Meth, and which are and second is, do you think that the sector specific indicators are good enough? They do duly capture the impact areas? What are the considerations for incorporating adaptation and resilience into this Meth? And do you have any suggestion on mapping the impact areas to SDGs? And of course, I would not like to restrict you to these questions only, and therefore question number 5, please feel free to provide any other inputs that you think would make this methodology useful. As I said earlier, the intent here for us at ADB is to create a public good that should help a wide section of stakeholders, including the policymakers. So your contribution and your inputs are going to be really very much appreciated. So I'll take a stop here. Very happy to answer questions now or later, or even bilaterally during emails or phone calls. Thank you very much. And my apologies for frequent internet interruptions. Back to you, Karen.